They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Personally, I prefer it served at 3 in the morning with a fleet of tow trucks idling at the curb, diesel engines humming like war drums. But before that night, before the quiet satisfaction of payback, I had to survive the hell she put me through. My name is Garrett Rockwell. 3 years ago, I thought I'd found paradise. 3 acres of Texas Hill Country, bought after I sold my construction business in Dallas. My wife Elena, a high school principal, and our 15-year-old daughter Sophia wanted peace, privacy, and freedom from suburban politics. The gravel driveway stretching 400 yards from the road to our house was my pride. It crunched under tires like cereal, slowed down traffic, and most importantly, was private property. I'd paid $80,000 extra for it, separated by deed from the subdivision next door, specifically to keep any homeowners association clause off it. Then came Vivian Ashworth. Imagine a parking ticket in human form. If the ticket drove a white BMW with vanity plates and carried a ruler in her purse to measure neighbors' grass. She'd been HOA president for 3 years, bullying residents into lawsuits, fines, and community standards that fattened her real estate profits. She was the kind of person who smiled like she'd already won. One morning in March, I woke to the acrid stench of asphalt. My coffee went cold in my hand when I looked outside and saw heavy machinery rolling across my driveway, paving over the gravel I'd paid for. Fence posts yanked out like weeds, survey markers smashed into nothing. The foreman waved a clipboard with Vivian's signature. Willowbrook Grand Entrance. The paperwork read, "My road, my property, rebranded without my consent." By the time I stormed into her office, boots still dusty with gravel, she was waiting for me with that sharp smile and a perfume cloud strong enough to choke a man. She slid an oversized map across her desk, my driveway highlighted like a prize. "Future community thoroughfare," she purred, as if speaking divine truth. When I refused, the next day brought a letter demanding $3,200 for road improvements, $85 monthly fees, and threats of liens if I didn't comply. Elena slammed cabinets hard enough to rattle glass. Sophia's friends treated the new asphalt like a skate park at 7 in the morning. And Vivian didn't stop there. She installed stone pillars with brass plaques declaring my land the official Willowbrook Commons grand entrance. Then she sent a security guard to flag me down at the end of my own driveway, clipboard in hand, demanding ID to use community access. I nearly laughed in his face, but the taste in my mouth was metallic rage. I knew this game. Developers create a fait accompli, then use intimidation until the victim caves. But I hadn't survived decades in construction just to let a jumped-up real estate queen steal from me. I filed complaints with the county. No permits had ever been issued for her little project. Within 48 hours, bright orange stop work orders hung from her shiny new pillars. I felt a surge of satisfaction until the retaliation began. Certified letters fined me $500 a day for failure to maintain common property. Neighbors whispered behind Elena's back at the grocery store. Strangers photographed my house, posted online about dangerous conditions and non-compliant landscaping. Sophia closed her curtains and muttered, "It felt like living in a fishbowl." And the letters kept coming. So I called in help. Dustin, my old business partner, handled a professional survey. Rex, a retired sheriff's deputy turned investigator, dug into public records. Marcus, my Marine neighbor, installed cameras. Dr. Hernandez, another neighbor, documented the stress Vivian's campaign inflicted. Piece by piece, we uncovered the truth. Vivian had been buying up land around us with shell companies, planning to assemble a luxury development. My 3 acres stood in her way. She tried everything. Lawsuits claiming I'd destroyed community property, bogus permit denials, workplace intimidation aimed at Elena, even sabotage. My irrigation line was cut under the asphalt, killing our grass and roses. Then she called, mock sympathetic, saying repairs would require board approval and a $5,000 deposit. That woman had the audacity to break my property and then demand a bribe to fix it. By then, the war was consuming us. Our garage became a command center, walls covered in maps, deeds, timelines, and evidence. Marcus provided surveillance. Janet, a teacher with a spine of steel, organized community support. Dr. Hernandez uncovered legal precedents. Rex kept digging until he struck gold. Vivian's empire was collapsing. She'd borrowed millions against projected HOA income, counting on forcing me into compliance. Without my land, her loans would default in weeks. She was desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. Like the time she offered Elena $25,000 cash to make me drop the fight, while admitting on tape that the money came from community improvement funds, stolen dues, embezzled right out of the HOA budget. Or the night our cameras caught her at 2 a.m., dressed in a pink tracksuit, directing unmarked trucks to install speed bumps and residents-only signs on my road. The footage was priceless, equal parts comedy and evidence. Still, her tactics escalated. Anonymous complaints drove up my insurance rates. False reports to Child Protective Services wasted hours of our lives. Vandals smashed our mailbox, poisoned our landscaping, and spray-painted insults across our property. And through it all, she smiled in public, hosting beautification walks where her loyalists strolled past our house, taking photos like paparazzi. Her final gambit came on a Saturday morning. She called it Community Action Day, but it was nothing more than a mob with bolt cutters and sledgehammers ready to rip out my survey markers and cameras. They wore matching t-shirts, cheered like tailgaters, and carried tools meant to destroy. I stepped out with my camera just as the sheriff's deputy arrived. When Vivian screamed about protecting property values and stepped onto my land with cutters in hand, the handcuffs clicked shut. She was arrested on the spot, and the local news crew she'd invited caught every second of it. From there, her empire collapsed like rotten wood. Federal investigators dug into her shell companies, loans, and fraudulent permits. The EPA uncovered environmental violations with million-dollar penalties. Insurance fraud, racketeering, embezzlement. She'd built her kingdom on sand, and now it crumbled under floodlights. In court, the evidence was overwhelming. My surveillance footage, Rex's files, Marcus's logs, Dr. Hernandez's medical records, it painted a picture of a woman running a criminal enterprise under the guise of community standards. She ranted about property values, but the judge silenced her with an 8-year federal sentence. Her properties, her car, her accounts, all seized. Commissioner Morse, her brother-in-law, followed her to prison on corruption charges. When the gavel fell, the courtroom erupted. Elena squeezed my hand, Sophia smiled for the first time in months, and I realized it was finally over. Almost. The community replaced the corrupt board with people who actually cared. Fees dropped, transparency returned. Our road became part of a restored wildlife preserve, birdsong replacing the diesel stench. Property values soared, but for once, that wasn't the point. I donated part of the settlement to fund scholarships for veterans' families. Sophia won her own scholarship after writing about standing up to bullies, inspired to study environmental engineering. Elena earned a promotion. We finally took the Alaska trip we'd postponed, watching grizzlies fish for salmon while laughter echoed across cold rivers. Vivian thought she could steal my land, crush my family, and rewrite reality with paperwork and intimidation. She underestimated how far I'd go to protect what was mine. Justice doesn't always come quickly, but it comes. Sometimes in courtrooms, sometimes in federal investigations, and sometimes, when the hour is late enough and the streets are quiet, in the rumble of tow trucks carrying away every last car of a corrupt little empire.